Hello, everyone. I hope you're having an awesome time at RETCON so far. Our next session will be led by Keith Wasserman. He is a partner at Gelt. Please join me in welcoming Keith to our virtual stage.
I'm going to give a little spiel about myself. I'm Keith Wasserman, founder of Gelt, as mentioned. I started Gelt back in December of 2008 in the height of during the last recession. So looking back, that was a mighty long time ago. I still feel like we're just getting started though. And I got my start literally, my cousin came to me with the opportunity to buy a 4-unit building in Bakersfield, California. And I said, where in God's name is Bakersfield? You know, being in LA, we don't know where Bakersfield is. It's actually a large city. It's the 9th largest city in California, around the 40th largest in the United States. And it's based on oil and agriculture, the local economy. And prices got whacked there really hard. It was had a big home building boom and then subsequent bust. And we started picking up these 4-unit buildings for around $150,000 a piece when they previously sold for $400,000 to $500,000. So our mortgage payment was around $600, and each unit rented for $695. So it was sort of like a no-brainer. Didn't really exactly know what we were doing, so we had to put ourselves in with good mentors. Damien's father, my cousin and co-founder, was on the ground in Bakersfield dealing with small apartment communities and rehabs, and really instructed us on how to deal with contractors and oversee the rehab and all the capex, and then picking the property management company and making sure they're doing a good job running the assets. And literally, my father, helped out also in the way beginning, taught me the ropes of how to grow a business and dealing with investors and brokers and lawyers. And it's a comprehensive business with lenders. So we literally started small. We started with this 4-unit building, and I felt like it was like a trophy kind of building, even though it was probably, looking back, one of the most roughest, toughest parts of town. But it was how we got our start and cut our teeth and really laid the groundwork for building Gelt. We started putting together groups of investors together. About a year later, we bought 15 of these little REO bank-owned fourplexes, sort of renovated them, leased them out, added a tremendous amount of value because they became performing assets. And then we said, you know what, how do we do this on a bigger scale? So we put together a group of around 8 investors, and we bought a 78-unit building in December of 2009. And that was also in Bakersfield. So we became the kings of Bakersfield. We bought around 350 units in Bakersfield between 2008, 9, and 10. And then we said, how do we, expand this and move into another market that has more opportunity? So our next target market was Phoenix. Phoenix had blood on the streets. It was during the immigration bill that passed. They had around 100,000 illegals leave, and they had apartment communities that were literally half empty. We came into Phoenix, looking back, at some of the best times that we started buying buildings in 2010, 11, 12, and we were buying stuff for $40,000, $50,000 per unit. I mean, pretty remarkable stuff. It took a while. The rents were still declining. We had to give away a lot of free rent. But over the next subsequent few years, we started finally seeing some stabilization, rent growth, and we exited Phoenix 2015 to 17, a little too early in the current cycle. We left a lot of money on the table. And the old adage goes, when you buy real estate, you hold it, permanently. That's the way to do it. Buy and hold. And we sold our buildings in the beginning in Phoenix. They really create a track record and return capital to investors. And but nowadays, if we ever do sell something, it's very occasionally, and we always try to do a 1031 exchange so we can roll over all the proceeds and avoid paying any taxes. So that's the way to really compound wealth and grow it over time. And we have a syndication business model we've been doing. Buy each property one by one with a single purpose entity, LLC. We have around 850 individual investors that we've raised around 500 million of equity from. The current portfolio is valued at around 1.5 billion. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we started entering different asset classes. So I like any real estate asset class that doesn't really rely on any one major tenant that can really affect the rent roll. Didn't want to worry about TI improvement dollars and broker fees and vacancy. So we stuck with the apartments, and then we moved into self-storage, which has those kind of characteristics, and mobile home parks. So we bought around 9 self-storage facilities, 8 mobile home parks, and we're continuing to expand in the self-storage realm. The MH space, we started to dispose of those because it's been very difficult to expand the business, to really scale, and pricing has been very attractive. So we felt like it's a good time. We also do some ground up development. of multifamily here locally in our backyard, where there's big supply constraint here in Los Angeles, and where we know all the local rules and know all the local people and have boots on the ground. We feel comfortable building in our backyard here. So we have around 550 units in different stages of development. I'm also the co-founder of a financial technology company called Demuso. And Demuso started because we saw there was a huge pain point with residents. Management companies became sort of like banks, where they were, spending a lot of time doing collections and going after people that didn't pay, and really we're trying to decouple the risk between the payment and let the management company just focus on renting apartment units and showing them and taking care of maintenance issues. And it really has brought that totally off their hands. And we've really pushed for our customers that are property management companies and owner operators to go 100% digital. The residents have a lot of options on how to pay rent. We've introduced some kind of groundbreaking payment methods, such as mobile check capture, where you could take a picture of your check. So some states require personal check and checks to be able to be paid with paper check. So you can take a picture of that, either money order or paper personal check. It'll deposit it into the landlord's bank account. Also, we're the first ones to do online certified, which is a big breakthrough. You don't have to go to the bank to get a money order or cashier's check. Essentially, we verify the funds and take on that payment risk, and the landlord gets the receipt of the funds, and it's good as cashier's check and money order. We have a lot of exciting product in the pipeline as well, and we're growing tremendously fast, around 20,000 units per month we're adding nationwide. So we're displacing a lot of legacy payment processing kind of platforms, and really we're much more tech savvy, we're much cheaper and easy to use. So it's a win-win for the management company, the residents, the landlords, et cetera. What else? I could talk about technology in our business. I'm a big believer. I just bought some more stock in CoStar Group, CGSP. I think long-term they have a monopoly, and we pay them a lot of money, and a lot of our peers do as well. So I say CoStar is one of my bigger holdings. I think it's going to be a great compounder over time. I have stock in Appfolio, for example. We used to use Appfolio when we did our own property management. I think they've really hit it with the whole cloud-based property management for the small and mid-sized kind of landlord. We're just very market driven, I'd say, in our approach. We try to identify a market and then acquire at least 1,000 units in each one of those markets. I like, because it diversifies our risk. We're actively buying in 6 different markets now. I'd say Seattle, Salt Lake City, Denver, Albuquerque, SoCal, a little bit Reno and Portland are the markets we're actively acquiring in, and those are markets we're in, and we know the lay of the land. Financing is we're getting a lot of debt from Fannie and Freddie. We primarily go to Mitch Clarefield's team and Brian Eisendrath's team at ARA Newmark or CBRE. We also do a lot of bridge lending on transition assets. We do bridge lending with a lot of First Republic Bank, my friend Jeremy Kramer over there, or we go through George Smith Partners, the Malcolm Davies, Zach Strite team. And we've done a lot of lending with borrowing from them for our construction projects and bridge kind of loans. We've done only one CMBS loan on one of our self-storage assets. So that sort of touches the financing. Right now, it's a sort of a interesting time. It's challenging to find good opportunities, especially in the multifamily space. We just disposed of an RV park that was a big home run. We bought it for $18 million back 2 years ago and just sold it for $28 million. We bought it when it was only 65 sites, and we were able to expand the park to 88 sites and also improve the NOI by starting to sell beer and wine. We started doing, instead of the people pitching their tents at night and charging $20 per space, we started having glamping tents that we were charging $200 per night. We had a lot of tiny homes and cottages that we started renting out. So it was a big success, and we sold it to Equity Lifestyle, which is the biggest RV park and mobile home park owner operator in the country. We have since identified a 1031 exchange. We're rolling that along with a few other assets into. That's definitely always what we try to do to prevent the investors and ourselves to pay taxes. We're very tax efficient. We try to do cost seg, accelerated depreciation on every asset we buy. And also I could talk about just talking to myself here, but on the development front, we're in the process of building a co-living project. I'm bullish on that space. I think it will bring the cost of rent down substantially. It's around 20% less than a studio apartment in the same neighborhood. So in high kind of demand areas with where it's difficult to build, I think that definitely is a valued kind of asset to have. We have another project we're building right now, a big rehab, where it's going to be a project that we're doing with a company called Kin, which is a project that's owned. Kin is a company owned by Common and Tishman Speyer, and they are creating housing for families with young children. So we're actively building that community as well. It'll be their flagship on the West Coast, and hopefully it'll lead to more projects with Kin. And then lastly, I'm the co-founder of Gelt VC, which is a venture capital company. We invest in early stage tech founders from all walks of life, from all around the world, primarily in the US, but definitely always looking for unique opportunities. My partner, Turner Novak, is the partner who really vets all the companies. And we essentially put the LP check in, and I like, sponsoring and fostering entrepreneurship and really seeing opportunity where others don't, and placing our chips with those kind of founders. Lastly, we have a 501c3 called the Resident Relief Foundation, where we have a ton of industry support, and it's growing tremendously. We've helped around 150 individuals and families that have been at risk of being evicted due to a one-time financial crisis. So essentially, we have a payment where we make on their behalf to the landlord or management company for a short period of time. Generally, it's around 1.6 months of rent. We also provide job, like a resume building training, financial literacy course. My sister, who's a PhD in psychology that works with veterans, provides some mental health assistance, and literally try to turn people into the residents that, good paying residents they have been. It's a win-win kind of scenario for the owners and management companies that don't have to deal with eviction costs or down costs or turn costs. It's homelessness prevention, which is good for the taxpayer. And obviously it's good for the resident that doesn't have to, risk losing a roof over their head. So that's called Resident Relief Foundation. I encourage you to reach out to Tina Oswald, our executive director. We're in the process of building out our board of directors. I'd say we're looking for people that are really eager to help out this grassroots movement and try to give back in the multifamily space, and that want to eagerly spread the word and gospel and try to raise capital for us and get more people on board. I'd say, what else could I talk about? I see a lot of shift. Our peers are starting to leave the urban kind of core apartments, selling those and buying more suburban. So whenever people zig, I try to zag. And so we're opportunistic. We'll look at urban, we'll look at suburban in the markets that I talked about. Haven't really seen much distress yet on the multifamily side. Is it coming? Perhaps. When? Who knows? So we invest always for the long term. One of my mentors, Sam Freshman, always told me, he told his investors that, in the next 1, 2, maybe 3 years, the building, the value might be down, the rents might be down, but over the long term, 5 to 10 years plus, the values are going to be way up, the rents are going to be way up. So we always buy, our properties with ample reserves to make it through rough times. We always stress test the deals, make sure, what happens if vacancy, creeps up from 5 to 10, 15, 20%. What happens if rent drops 5, 10, 15, 20% like it did in the last recession? And how long can we last in feeding the property before we have to make a capital call? We've never done a capital call. We don't intend to. We finally had our first quarter where we had one property that was in the negative over the last 12 years. And we have a huge amount of reserves in that bank account to feed the property. And after 1 or maybe 2 quarters, it's actually back in the black. So I'm happy about that, but we are very conservative. We always look to, hit call it 6 to 8% cash on cash out the gate with upside. Some projects are more heavy value add that don't have any cash flow for 1, 2 years till we do a major reposition and either do a major cash out refi or sell. But our typical bread and butter is buying 200 unit and up multifamily properties built in the, call it 90s and newer in these kind of markets. We were historically buyers of buildings built in the 70s and 80s and have really done a great job, fixing a lot of the major systems there and holding those and transforming those assets. But we are starting to shift into buying newer assets built at least 90s and newer, hopefully 2000 and newer. I see some opportunity in new built projects that are in lease up. Lease ups are going slower than normal. We're in the process of actually completing a project and doing a lease up, and we're getting a bridge loan now to take out the construction loan. Thankfully, there's a lot of debt that could do that. On the self-storage side, we're looking nationwide to keep buying properties. We bought a portfolio of 8 assets in Memphis with a local management company operating that for us. We are we own one in South Pasadena here locally in LA that's just crushing it. We bought it from a broker that was really trying to sell it for their client as a development play. And none of the developers wanted to, they all wanted to tie it up for an extended period of time. So we said, we'll buy it as is. And we underwrote it as just a self-storage play, and it hit it out of the park. We had rents that were inherited that were around 40% below market. So we were easily push rents to market. We had a little dropout, maybe 8% of the tenants left, but all the other assets in the market were in the high 90% range. There was very little place for them to go. And we were able to push through those rent increases, and in absolute dollars, it's not that much compared to an apartment building. If you're raising the rent 40% on a person paying $2,000, that's a lot of money. If you're raising the rent 40% on a person paying $100 to $200, it's not that meaningful. So we were able to push that through. And yeah, we're looking to continue to buy, self-storage. I'd say RV parks, if they have development expansion or ground up, to develop a new community. What else? Apartment communities locally to build in LA, 50 units and up, and looking to buy more apartment communities, Denver and West, that are 200 units and greater. I'd say most of the properties we buy, I get the question a lot, how do we, source deals? We're getting our properties from the brokerage community. Sometimes we're on the short list when they could bring it to a short list of buyers. Sometimes, we're just part of the general market, but we have a really good relationship, hopefully, and are able to, get that last look, or, just have the good relationship with the broker or the seller. So we're cultivating more relationships with sellers to help us show that we're in the business. We don't do any retrading funny business like a lot of our peers. We've always closed deals that we've put under contract. So it's all about reputation, especially in this market when there's 10 to 20 different buyers behind you. In the beginning days, we were able to retrade, and when we had a different partner, that was more of his style, and we were always able to do it successfully. Nowadays, they would just go to the next buyer. When will we go back to those sort of distressed kind of days? Who knows? But it's very cyclical real estate, and eventually it will change, and there will be more distress and buying opportunities, and we're going to be there with cash in hand. So we're continuing to grow our footprint. We have around 5,500 apartment units, trying to scale up to 10,000 plus in the next 5 years, and we have a big investor base that we're trying to continually grow. As long as someone's an accredited investor, they can invest with us. Minimum investment size is 100,000 per any deal. If someone wants to start with 75 or 50,000, that's fine too. And if someone's younger and I like them, 25,000 is fine as well, as long as they're accredited. Time and inflation are real estate's best friends. So the earlier you start investing, the better. Parking money away in real estate every time Gelt comes around with a deal, and over time you'll have assets that are worth a lot, that are cash flowing a lot, with all the tax benefits, and you can choose to work or not, because you'll have enough cash flow to pay for your living expenses. That's what a lot of our investors have done over the last 12 years. They've accomplished, and I say, why can't you too? I'm going to keep talking. I guess I got a long time here, but anyone's able to reach out to me. You could follow me on any social media. I'm very active on Twitter and LinkedIn. I'd say those are the top ones. Me. It's more family kind of stuff, but for business, definitely LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm very active on social media. You could always shoot me an email also. It's just Keith, Keith, at geltinc.com, geltinc.com. That's about it.
All right. Thank you so much, Keith. We really appreciate you sharing your insights with us. Thank you for all of that wonderful information. A big virtual round of applause to you from our audience. All right, if you're looking for your next session, you can go ahead and check out your agenda or take some time to visit our sponsor pages or connect with your peers with some one-on-one virtual networking. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.